that road all the time.
Good afternoon. The February 27th, 2024 regular council meeting is called to order at 4 o'clock. Council would like to acknowledge the Ucluelet on whose traditional territories the District of Ucluelet operates. Audience members and delegates are advised that this proceeding is being video recorded and broadcast on YouTube and Zoom, which may store data on foreign servers. Are there any late items? Seeing none, may I have a motion to adopt the February 27th, 2024 regular council meeting agenda as presented?
So moved.
I'll second.
Councillor Hoare, Councillor Mafty, all in favor? None opposed? That carries. Is there any unfinished business? Seeing none, we have a delegation this afternoon from the Ucluelet RCMP detachment. Sergeant Jones, the floor is yours.
There we go. Can you hear me okay? Perfect. Well, thank you. One of the main things I want to talk about in this particular meeting, and I try not to take up too much time, is with us, our fiscal year always occurs from the end of March, so beginning of April to April. So one of the things that we do, and I did this with last year, was we decide what our policing priorities are for each community. I've been fortunate enough to have a quick meeting with the mayor and SAO here, and I brought up a bunch of different topics. And one of the things I wanted to bring out in a sort of a bit of a public forum for the council members as well to see if they can help. We have to decide on a policing priority that is important to the community. Generally, we look at this as a wide range topic, not something we'll deal with all the different minute things, so to speak, of policing issues as we do in policing. But the one we did with this year, which will come to an end here at the end of March, was we always focus on crime reduction. So how can we reduce crime? And when we spoke about it last time, it was in regards to speed enforcement and awareness in certain particular areas. And I was able to present some statistics and such, and we'll have final statistics at the end of March to give an update everybody. But I do need to figure out what it is the community would like to move forward, or what they find is important for the police to focus on. And one of the topics I brought up this particular one was impaired driving. We've been generally pretty fortunate to have, long convoluted story, but we've had the impaired driving unit down. We haven't been able to use that service for a couple months now. There may be some other things in the works, but I know that impaired driving is a national priority. I'm curious, is from this particular community, is it a priority for the community? Is it something the community would like to see us focus on a little bit more, like specifically putting out different types and times for check stops, those type of things. So I'm sort of throwing that out. That's just one of my thoughts that we've discussed. It could be back to if speed enforcement is important. It may be something altogether different. I don't know, but I wanted to open it up to see if there was an idea from the council, representing the community, what you think would be a priority we should focus on.
Any ideas from council? Councillor Kennington?
The only thing I would mention is the school zone. I was there last week, and somebody almost caught air off the speed bump, of course, with Alberta plate, and it's something that is just ongoing. If you drive through there at 30, you're going to get tailgated by an out-of-province plate. I think it's a real issue, and we don't have any lit crosswalks or anything, and a lot of the kids do cross the road at will, not necessarily at the crosswalk, and I think we need to do something about it. That's all I got.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, you're thinking of something along speed enforcement?
Speed enforcement.
Within the school zone specifically?
Yeah.
Okay.
Councillor Hoare?
I would add like the playground zones too. I mean, I see it. I actually nearly got T-boned on the corner of Matterson and Peninsula today by somebody who was speeding into the speed zone or into the school zone. And I'm thinking, but yeah, it's definitely a thing. I'm not averse to the impaired driving. Don't get me wrong. I think way too many people get into a vehicle thinking that they're okay after a couple of glasses of wine or beers or whatever. Yeah, That's about all I got.
No, just so you know too, we will always be focusing, no matter what, on speed and impaired driving. It's not something that's just going to not occur. It's something where if I had financial resources to put extra money into, what can I do? What would be important to the community? And I agree, the speeding is a good one. I'll just reiterate, we actually technically don't have a school zone. We actually have playground zones the whole way through. So it kind of has that advantage because it's dawn till dusk and 7 days a week. So.
And didn't you have a volunteer come forward for Speedwatch when you
Had
adver-
one person so far. I need one more.
That's a good opportunity for a call out for that. And what time commitment would that involve?
It would be random. It just depends on if I can get the two to coordinate at certain times when they have availability, because it is a volunteer thing, and we work around the schedules, and hopefully it can fall into those time zones when schools may be getting out or anything like that. If we have that opportunity, that's what we'd like to focus on.
Great. Anything from Councillor Mafty?
No.
Councillor Anderson?
Okay, I'll let me throw it back to you. What do you I remember last summer we talked briefly, and then there was a couple of things that were on the radar with you. Is there anything that stands out to you besides impaired driving enforcement and speeding? Anything that's kind of on your radar?
Well, we do have crime reduction. I look at, for instance, if we have say we have a prolific offender in our community, somebody that's breaking into places or somebody that's stealing. That would be something we take our financial resources, focus on, bring in extra specialty people, and try to stop that reduce that crime. We're pretty fortunate we don't have prolific offenders. We do get the occasional property type crimes. That's generally what I call, opportunity thefts, those type of things. But at this point, I don't have a prolific offender that's per se. There is actual special funding I can apply for if we ever get something like that, which I would look at doing. But at this point, we haven't had that. We've been pretty fortunate in regards. There are definitely different types of crimes. Like I said, there's always stuff that we would focus on anyways. Like there's serious crimes that occur in any community. We focus on those. It wouldn't be something I'd look at as a crime reduction. There's stuff that's going on in our community. For instance, when you take a look at some of our statistics with sexual assaults, that's not something we would focus on as a crime reduction, but we do have community resources, which we are now trying to set up with third-party reporting. There's some great stuff going on within the community itself, and we're hoping to make more education, try to reduce any of those type of situations.
Right, great. That's the answer. I remember that's what I was speaking to you about. I think there was some
Yeah.
sort of like some creepiness going on with some drugging or like some sexual assaults that were happening down by the beach or something like that. But yeah, it sounded like that was taken care of.
Well, I would never say it's fully taken care of, but we are definitely have a lot of different community-based resources that are assisting us to help that get out the education, help educate different people, and hopefully, if we do have somebody that what I would call is say a target person, somebody that's continuously doing this. Not that one time is good. I just meant but we would want to focus on, say, we had what I'd call a serial person, a prolific person that's doing that, preying on people to do sexual assaults. We need that information if it's not being reported to us, so that we can focus on it.
Right.
I don't know if we have that in the community. I don't think we do. But I do know that there is definitely some odd stuff that does happen here.
Right. Well, thank you.
And based on our meeting, you mentioned that you've applied for 2 extra officers for this year?
Yes, I put in for 2 more police officers just because we need more. They're just the logistics of what the type of files that we're getting are way more involved. I was mentioning I hold the police officers here accountable to the type of investigations they do. We are expected to do warrants. We're expected to do all these type of things. We just can't walk away from them, and I won't let them walk away from them. But that takes time. That takes resources. So I've let our management know I need more resources here.
Great. And April 1st, the auxiliary is going to start up again?
We have a brand new auxiliary program starting up. We have one person that's currently interested in going through the process, starting it from being a previous auxiliary. We've mentioned it both to TASU, and I'll be mentioning it to Mokoa when I get a chance to go out there. And also in here, we're always open to anybody that would be interested in starting out for one of those programs. They're a great benefit to the community.
And yeah, there are a few people that are very interested in that. And you're still looking for jail guards?
We are always looking for jail guards. We can never have enough. It's tough. We have a lot of people that work full-time jobs, and as such, we end up, we can only use them sporadically, where we have times when we could use hypothetically, a full-time guard to be around to help us out.
Right. So another opportunity for a call out for anybody who would like some employment. And then we did discuss the option of having some summer bylaw officers to help with fires and things like that.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
we'll look into maybe resurrecting the bylaw ambassadors.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
So that could be a bit of a drain on the resources.
For sure.
Mhm.
Any other comments from council?
Kind of a question. I'm not sure if it classes as impaired driving, but like texting while driving, use of phone, that sort of thing. Is that impaired, or is that its own distracted
It's called-
driving?
yeah, no, that's fair. It's distracted driving. We fall that under any type of enforcement. Like, you're looking at reducing certain types of behaviors.
Mhm.
There's distracted driving, there's speeding, like we were just mentioning and such. They all sort of play part. I mean, it's, let's be realistic. It's not hard to look around and find somebody on their phone when you're driving down the road.
All the time when I'm walking. No, I just was curious because I was looking at the stats and I was just wondering where that would fall, or if it would fall in the stats in your report.
No, we don't, I do what, I did one where I just did a quick evaluation for 2023, and I just said how many tickets that were written for the year by my members, not including the specialty people you'll see coming in and such.
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't had, I'd have to go through each individually to break them down, what they were issued for and stuff. I would suspect from what I've just seen cross my desk every so often, it's probably mostly speeding and the occasional distracted driving one.
Great. Well, thank you for your for being here. Oh, you've got one more, Councillor Anderson?
Sorry, this is sort of a one for Dwayne and Mark, if you don't mind. So my question was, as we're getting closer to summer, and I'm not sure when bylaw stops responding. Are they available on the weekend at this point? Because I know at some point it says to contact the RCMP if you have like a bylaw issue. And my question was, like, say you know there's like a scallywag in front of your house, camping or kind of thing, and you want to call it in on like a Saturday. I'm just wondering what's appropriate and what's inappropriate for calling the RCMP in that case, if it is like clearly a bylaw matter.
So I'll make it simple in regards to this. We respond to all the issues. If bylaw is not working at that particular time, then we will respond. And we've also responded as backup to help the bylaw in dangerous situations. We may not be able to do certain things. Like I said, there's enforcement options, but generally we try to leave that for bylaws to do if they feel it's necessary and such. We try to do, how do I say this properly, more education and try to keep people moving before we just issue out the tickets, so to speak, I think. But in either way, sorry, if you have an issue, call us. We'll still come. We'll try to deal with it whatever way we can. And what we'll do is, like I've explained with Dwayne, is a lot of times we will have the members take the information. If there's anything needs following up on, gets forwarded off to bylaws, and bylaws can follow up on it. But yeah, please don't not call. I mean, we're not always enthusiastic about these files because it does cause a drain, but it's still part of policing. And if it's causing issues for people, like loud noises, like parties, we're still going to go. Yeah.
Awesome, thank you.
Do you have many scallywags around your
I
property?
get the odd scallywag. We're kind of at the end of the road.
Yeah.
Like it's the end of the road on Helen. So every now and again, like there's car camping and full-size barbecues, and it's long weekends are fun. But yeah.
So sorry, just to recap. Before I leave, I just want to, I can follow up later with Dwayne and such. Maybe if all of you have an opportunity, if you want to make a decision, what you think is important for the community as a group. Say to me if it is going to be speeding in the playground zones by the school, or just speeding in general, whatever, impaired driving, any of those, distracted driving. If that's something that's important to you, let me know, please, and then I can put it in to this the upcoming performance plan so that we have something we're accountable to.
Great. Well, thank you for coming. We always appreciate seeing you and hearing from you. So thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Take care.
There are two bylaw items on the agenda. The first bylaw item is 6.1, rezoning and OCP amendment for 1061 Helen Road. This item will be presented by the Director of Community Planning, Mr. Gregg. Welcome.
Thank you, and through the mayor, this is an application for the property at 1061 Helen Road. There's there's a few pieces to it. It's both an OCP or official community plan amendment, zoning amendment, and a development permit. And on top of that, we're suggesting an update to one of the council policies, as you've seen in the report. I'll just give a brief overview of it, and I'll start a little backwards, but just to dispel any confusion. This plan is not the current proposal. It is attached in the appendix. The proposal started out as an 11-unit townhouse development, but that was a sort of an initial pass. And so after looking into land uses and density and flood risk and the limitations on the site, and there's some discussion with staff, they came in with the current proposals, which is again not the 11 units. It is a 6 unit multifamily development in 5 buildings. So this would be residential, not short-term vacation rental. It is residential units. It'd be 6 of them, and as it says in the report, so there's a couple of images of it here. So 5 buildings, 6 units. And we sort of looked at this as the property is zoned R2, but has a limitation, which is a multifamily residential zone currently, but with a limitation to say, but only single family or duplex homes, not multifamily. So it's a bit of a odd, unique zone. And so what's laid out in the staff report is a comparison of like what you could build today on the property is approximately 15,000 square feet of single family home, including a secondary suite and 3 bed and breakfast short-term vacation rentals. So, we looked at essentially the way that zoning is drafted is it would allow the same total floor area. So the same density, but instead of being a mix of single family and vacation rental, that would be spread over what are residential units. And so the numbers are arguably comparable. The official community plan, long range land use plan shows this area as single family residential. So that amendment would be to change this lot to multifamily residential to allow this sort of shift in the zoning. Although it and its 2 neighboring lots there are also already zoned R2, so it's a bit of a weird mix. So that's in a nutshell sort of how the bylaws are, where they're coming from. The other piece of this is a development permit, and it's faint there, but there is a line. There's a 20-meter setback identified by the biologist along the marine shoreline, which there are conditions that are identified through that report by Curtin Environmental, which would be the conditions of the development permit to ensure that they protect the ecosystem in there during development. And then the last piece of this, as I said, there's a policy that council had adopted, which is an interim policy on tsunami risk tolerance. And I don't have a pointer, but essentially highlighted there are the 2 additions to the policy. So to add a little more nuance within this, because it's one thing. The policy in a nutshell is trying to mitigate the risk of saying, look, if you're adding density, adding more housing units, avoid putting them at further risk. But at the same time, recognize that we have existing properties along the shoreline, and so they can develop, and they're really respecting a coastal floodplain as opposed to a tsunami floodplain, which is at a higher level or more restrictive. And so this would add sort of the nuance saying, okay, if there's and generally that would apply to zoning or subdivision. And this really would add a little more nuance, if you will, around if you're rezoning and not adding density and not adding more units. Is that still sort of equivalent to what you could build today? Then it's arguably not increasing the risk in the community in terms of the numbers. So that might be handled differently than say a change in zoning that adds a lot more density. if you're doing that, hey, we're creating a whole bunch of new housing units, then arguably it should be done in an area that is avoiding that potential risk or creating a potential for a greater issues for the community. And so this was just this is not changed, but this is just the illustration of within sort of halfway down that line. There's a. I'm going to look and see if I don't think I'm going to grab a pointer so I can point it out. So you'll recall in the policy. Sorry, my pointer is not pointing. Halfway down, the chart, and I will go point to it as a reach up on the wall here. And sorry for those at home and looking at Zoom won't see it. There is it recognizes that there's a different flood level for coastal storm and for tsunami, and it sort of breaks down and says, look, we'll treat things that are on existing lots differently and to not the same standard as if you are rezoning or doing subdivision for adding new density. And so that line is sorry, it's getting into the minutia of this policy, but I'll just so that would be sort of broad. This application just sort of raised the question, and we thought, okay, this is actually one where it's a policy. It is interim until the province provides some other more detailed guidance, and so I'll just see if there's any questions on that, or if there's any questions on the development proposal. And there is also, being a new development, would be an opportunity if the applicant is online and wish to address council. They should be given that opportunity.
Are there any questions for staff at this point?
I have, through the mayor, just one brief question. In the report, it says that there's no anticipated work within the 20-meter setback, but the diagram presented seems to show that one of the buildings encroaches into that setback. Is that just the way it's visualized, or?
Through the mayor, it does show it's like a corner of a deck kind of is right on that 20 meters. And I think that has to do with the timing of, we have some back and forth between building plans and a biologist who's looking at it. And so the 20 meter setback, that would have to be essentially squared by the time they do a building permit of, okay, if that is the fixed 20 meter setback, then they'd have to amend their final plans before construction to stay out of that setback. If there were some, or we need to see, but from the biologist, okay, if that is a minor encroachment, can they account for that? Is that going to have an impact in it, and have them confirm it? So essentially, the development permit really rests on the professionals, and it's a professional reliance kind of scheme in British Columbia that relies on the biologist to assess, okay, is this having a negative impact, and to make sure the measures are there. So and that's typically lends itself to a sort of a limits of disturbance, which we want to see marked out and fenced typically before they start clearing or mobilizing on site.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Would the applicant like to present? Mr. Rotenberg, is the applicant online?
Applicant, if you're online, please click the raise your hand icon to indicate that you would like to present. No hands are raised at this time.
Okay, there are 6 motions recommended by staff. Would council like to begin that process? And Mr. Rotenberg, did you want those done separately, correct?
Yeah, in this case, I think it would be appropriate.
Okay, thank you. Are you up for it, Councillor Anderson?
I was going to add a comment.
Oh, okay.
If that's all right, but or we can do the motions first though. It's up to you.
Whatever. Comment is fine.
Sure. Yeah, I just wanted to make just a brief comment. I'm not opposed to what's going on, but I did get some calls over the weekend from some concerned folks, so I wanted to just kind of maybe we should read these out first, but I think it's sort of the tip of the iceberg for what's about to happen with the OCP changes that are happening. So in this particular case, it's one property, but I did get some calls about it, and the calls were basically about the 11 units, which is obviously not the case anymore. So it's a bit of a moot point. and once you clarified that, I was able to clarify with them, and that was okay. But I did have some concerns that I felt like I should probably bring up, and just a couple of things that we're just sort of ruminating is when we do the OCP. Well, first of all, it was a great job that when they came with the initial ask that you were able to modify that, and you know it fits with what's already on that road and in the community. But I think it was like one of our top priorities with council. It actually was our very top priority during strategy. It was the OCP, growth and development. That was our top thing. And I think now that we're having to adopt this sort of Bill 44 mandates with the increased density, it would sort of behoove us to sit down and talk as a group about how we see like growth going forward. Because I think the worry is that when we open up single family housing, which is essentially not in this particular case, but next we'll be taking away public hearings, they'll be prohibited, and all single family zoning will by definition be blanket rezoned or upzoned into multifamily. So there was concerns that people had about that. I mean, I said, you know, we really have to read the numbers and understand what that means. It's not a necessary, like an evil thing that's coming, and it's probably in many ways what we need. But the general consensus that I got from the people that were concerned was that council works with staff to form that growth, or we work together based on a vision that we have together about what Ucluelet looks like in 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, as opposed to, and I don't want to sound negative, but as opposed to reacting to like foreign investment, you know, when someone says, hey, now I can build a lot more on the same site, and I can, you know, so we're kind of reacting to that. So I didn't want, or they didn't want the driver of growth and density increase and the growth of the town to be necessarily driven by something external, and maybe something organic and within ourselves, so that we can see having access to amenities, grocery stores. So if we do density, it's going to be in a place that's walkable, you know, not putting something of high density out in like Komodo or Alena where it doesn't totally make sense, but somewhere that's walkable, people who might not have a vehicle, and kind of do it that way. So that was just that was the comment that I wanted to express. Sorry, that was long-winded.
I know that wasn't a question put to staff, but I'm just going to jump in, if I may, through the mayor. I think there's a lot of confusion with the way how quickly some of the legislation has come out. So I just want to provide a little clarity because I think, you know, this happens to be for 6 units, but, you know, in some larger communities, they are having to look at their single family zoning and allow 4, 6, 8 units on what was, you know, previously just single family zoning. That is not the case in Ucluelet. We're not forced to put that kind of density everywhere. What smaller communities are required to do before June 30th is make sure that we have secondary suites or accessory dwelling units, cabins or ADUs, within all of our single-family zones. So we do have a couple of single-family zones that we're going to have to. I mean, you will see a zoning amendment bylaw to you know, tidy that up before June. The other thing we need to do, though, is to look at a housing needs assessment, which the province still has not published the rule book on. As soon as we have that, we're going to look at, okay, is this major or minor in terms of changes of that over the housing assessment, which we just recently did. And then we'll know, okay, we have to do that process and come up with a number. This is 20 years worth of growth that we have to accommodate. And then two things happen. One is updating the official community plan to show where should those be. So it's not random driven necessarily, but pre-designate lands within the OCP for that 20 years of housing, and then update the zoning bylaw to pre-zone for enough units over 20 years in those locations. That OCP process is absolutely public. That's something that you will be able to have a public hearing on, have public input on, so that really is the chance for the community to shape, okay, where should housing go? Where does it fit? What forms do we want? Is it a fourplex or a sixplex in some places, and in other places, no, it's just single family and maybe a suite or an ADU. And that whole discussion of how much housing and the balance of how much tourist accommodation, it all comes into play. And that is very much with public engagement and with the community to make sure it reflects what the community wants. And part of that discussion is what's the servicing that supports it. It all fits together. So that's in our near future. As I said, we're waiting for the province to publish their guidelines on the first piece of it, the kind of groundwork we have to do before we can really know, okay, what are the numbers? How does that compare to the OCP we already have? So that's all coming. So if people are asking about like, okay, this is going to come our way and we'll have no say, I share that with them that there is going to be this opportunity for community discussion on housing and growth and where does it best serve the community.
Excellent. Thank you for that answer.
All right, we're back to the 6 motions that are recommended by staff. Councillor Hoare.
I've got it. I will move that District of Ucluelet Official Community Plan Amendment Bylaw number 1337 2024 be introduced and be given first and second reading.
I'll second.
Councillor Kennington seconds. Any further discussion? All in favor? None opposed? That carries.
I will move that Council considers the District of Ucluelet Official Community Plan Amendment Bylaw number 1337 2024 in conjunction with the District of Ucluelet 2023 to 2027 Financial Plan Bylaw number 1329 2023 and the Alberni-Clayoquot Regional District Waste Management Plan.
I'll second that.
Councillor Anderson seconds. Any further discussion? All in favor? None opposed? That carries.
I move that District of Ucluelet Official Community Plan Amendment Bylaw number 1337 2024 be referred to the Ucluelet Thought Government and that, given the narrow focus of Bylaw number 1337 2024, Council is satisfied that no further consultation is required with other persons, organizations, and authorities identified in sections 475, sub 2, sub A, and sub B of the Local Government Act.
Second.
Councillor Kennington seconds. Any further discussion? Councillor Anderson?
Oh, sorry. Raising my hand. I agree. No.
Oh, no further discussion? Okay.
Jumped the gun.
All in favor? None opposed. Carried.
I move that District of Ucluelet Official Community Plan Amendment Bylaw number 1337 2024 be referred to a public hearing.
I'll second that.
Councillor Anderson seconds. Any further discussion? All in favor? None opposed. That carries.
I move that District of Ucluelet Zoning Amendment Bylaw number 1322 2024 be introduced, given first and second reading, and advanced to a public hearing.
Second.
Councillor Kennington seconds. Any further discussion? All in favor? None opposed. That carries.
Move that District of Ucluelet Tsunami Risk Tolerance Interim Policy 8-5280-2, which supersedes District of Ucluelet Tsunami Risk Tolerance Interim Policy 8-5280-1, be adopted.
Second.
Councillor Kennington seconds. Any further discussion? All in favor? None opposed. That carries. Thank you for taking that on, Councillor Hoare.
It's a big one.
The next bylaw item is 6.2, zoning amendment and DVP for part of 256 Matterson Drive. This report will also be presented by the Director of Community Planning, Mr. Gregg.
Thank you, and through the mayor, this application, these rezoning for 256 Matterson Drive and the development variance permit, they were the subject of a public hearing already. So council, having held a public hearing, is basically in a position to consider third reading and adoption of the bylaw and issuance of the permit. Essentially, I have the slides. If there are any questions, I could bring up a slide of the site. But this has been covered by council previously, so I'll just see if there's anything that staff can provide. Otherwise, it's really council's chance to consider the vast quantity of input that was received at the public hearing and decide what to do with the application.
Any questions for Mr. Gregg? No? No, looks good. There are 3 separate motions recommended by staff. Who would like to make those?
I'll make those.
Councillor Kennington?
I will move that council give third reading to District of Ucluelet zoning amendment bylaw number 1335, 2023.
I'll second.
Councillor Mafty seconds. Any further discussion? All in favor? None opposed? That carries.
I'll move that council adopt District of Ucluelet zoning amendment bylaw number 1335, 2023.
I'll second that.
Councillor Anderson seconds. Any further discussion? All in favor? None opposed? That carries.
And I will move that council authorize the Director of Community Planning to execute and issue development variance permit 23-12.
I'll second.
Councillor Mafty seconds. Any further discussion? All in favor? None opposed? That carries. Great, thank you. Are there any notices of motion? Okay, there are 4 correspondence items on our agenda.
There's actually 5.
There's 5. You're right, there's 5. I'd like to start by bringing forward item 8.2 for discussion. This is a letter from the Chamber of Commerce regarding their Economic Development Committee. The Chamber is requesting that 2 council members be appointed to their Economic Development Committee. Are any members of council interested in sitting on this Chamber of Commerce committee? Oh, we have 3.
I won't fight you guys on this one.
It does make note that Councillor Anderson and Councillor Kennington did express interest.
Well, don't let me stand in the way.
Rock, scissors, paper for that.
No, go.
Well, it's great that we have more than 2 wanting to be on it. That's great.
Totally want to see the rock, scissors, paper.
Rock, paper, scissors.
It's a democratic process.
Is it okay? All right.
Are you okay with that, Councillor Mefty?
Yeah, with joining or with letting Sean and Ian join?
You're welcome to.
No. If you're interested, go. I just chatted with Mr. Jenkins and I encouraged him, and I thought it was a great idea. So that's why I was like, yeah, I'll put my money where my mouth is. But if you had a vision here, I'm sure it's in good hands.
Sure, okay, I'll stay on it.
Okay. So I will move that council appoint Councillor Anderson and Councillor Kennington to represent the District of Ucluelet on the Ucluelet Chamber of Commerce Economic Development Committee until December 31st, 2024.
I'll second that.
Councillor Hoare seconds. Any further discussion? It's your last chance.
Go get him, guys.
All in favor? None opposed? That carries.
Josh said there'd be pizza, so
You're supposed to say that during the discussion part.
I didn't.
Okay.
I didn't want to have to go up against you.
Don't tell him about the pizza. Don't say it.
Okay, I'd like to bring forward item 8.3, Ucluelet Skate Park Committee Letter of Support Request for discussion.
I'll be outside for this one. I
Oh,
need to
right.
recuse myself.
Councillor Hoare will recuse herself. This is a letter of support request for a grant application to the Co-op Community Space Grant to undertake Phase 1 of the upgrades to the Ucluelet Skate Park. And I just would like to make a note that the deadline for this application is March 1st, so it would be a very tight turnaround on this letter of support. Comments?
Obviously, I've been a supporter of the skate park for a long time, and we had another letter of support go out for the racket,
The pickleballers?
the pickleballers. That's not what they're called, but so it's a competing thing, but at the same time, they're both worthy causes, and we'll just see how it shakes out. So I would support the letter.
Any further discussion? Because I have a recommendation that I can read out. I'll move that Council authorize the issuance of a letter of support for the Ucluelet Skate Park Committee's grant application to the Co-op Community Spaces for funding for Phase 1 of the Community Skate Park Upgrades Project, and agree to receive the grant funds and issue a charitable tax receipt to the co-op.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion?
I'd just go on the record and say I think the skate park's a great community resource. My kids love it. Lots of kids love it. And one of the things that I really enjoy about it that I think makes it particularly suitable for this kind of funding is it's something that appeals to everyone. On a, busy, crowded day there, you have a real cross-section of all different kinds of people that are using it for all different purposes, and it's a great environment. I think it's something we should feel good about trying to support and trying to expand and trying to put money into. So, yeah, I hope it goes through.
And Councillor Kennington told us that how widely advertised it is, that it's so popular.
It is. It's very popular.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So people actually come to Ucluelet to
People come to Ucluelet to use the skate park.
use our skate park. That's amazing.
It's true. And one of the best parts that I've noticed out there is there's this culture of the older kids helping the smaller kids. It's so heartwarming. It's really cool to see.
Ladies skate night as well. That my daughter was going to that, and it was just a great. She always came home with a huge smile on her face, and it was a great. She built some good friendships out of that, and she showed up sort of on her own. So, it is a community in itself.
Great discussion. All in favor? None opposed? That carries. Great, thank you. Okay, 8.4 is Association of Vancouver Island and Coastal Communities, AGM and Convention in Victoria. This is an invitation. Just find it here. This is an invitation from Island Health inviting us to meet with them either on Thursday, April 11th or Friday, April the 12th. And so seeing as how we don't know what time we're all getting there on the Thursday, I would suggest if we want to meet with Island Health to make it Friday. And they have a set time from 8:30 to 11:30. So I would suggest maybe 10:30.
Perfect.
And who would like to attend that meeting? Councillor Mafty and Councillor Anderson.
Yeah, I'm in the housing summit.
That's right. Councillor Kennington and Councillor Hoare are in the housing workshop. And then they also want to know what sort of topics we'd like to discuss with them. I'm looking at you.
Do you want to do this right now?
Yeah, I think we have to let them know.
I was just ruminating on this, and the two that jump out at me are the new medical center and what the staffing will look like there, like who's going to be in that center and what their interest is in it. And then the other one was aging in place. So I think that's a big thing right now is and I think we're going to talk about that tomorrow as well. So basically being able to stay in rural communities and still get like healthcare support as long as possible.
Mr. Rotenberg, did you get all that?
So I think there are two topics. One is the new medical center and staffing for the center. And the second topic would be aging in place. And I think you're asking that I attempt to book an appointment for 10:30 on the Friday.
Yes. Correct. Great. Do we need a motion for that, Mr. Lawrence? It's just a meeting. It's not like we're not getting paid anything for it or anything.
I don't believe so.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Mr. Rotenberg, you're okay with no motion? Okay. And 8.5, vital conversation on coastal safety, prevention, and regional coordination. Reminder. The CBT has been reminding me for about a month about this workshop. It's an all-day workshop on Monday. And I was kind of resisting replying because I have so many meetings. I thought maybe a day without a meeting might be nice. But because it's this topic, and it's about CoSmart, and I was very involved with the CoSmart videos and photography back in 2019, I think it was. So I would like to attend this, and just asking if anyone else is interested in attending. It's from 9 till 3 on Monday, March the 4th.
I can tentatively say I'd like to do that.
Councillor Anderson? It might be good to have someone from the surfing community to
And I pass this on to Jay Rosine as well, who has a definite interest in life-saving on the coast here.
He will be in Disneyland on that day.
Oh, he will.
Yeah. But that was a good pass along.
I'd like to go. I'm tentatively weather dependent. Already booked to be doing bird surveys in Heshquate Harbor. So if I'm there, I can't come. But if we aren't surveying, I'd like to come. So if I can attend last minute, then I'd love that option. And if they need to know like a guest list beforehand, I couldn't in good conscience do it, considering I'm already booked to be somewhere else.
They may be providing lunch, I'm guessing, if it's from 9 till 3. So
If I can come, I'm happy to skip the lunch. I'd just like to go if I can, but
okay.
So.
Is your birding weather dependent?
Yeah, like we're supposed to be up there for like 3 days, but if it looks like decent weather, we're gonna go, and if it looks like horrible weather, we'll delay. But we're flying in and out, so like I'd be gone the whole time if we do go.
I understand. Okay, so a recommendation would be that Mayor McEwen and Councillor Anderson represent the District of Ucluelet at the Pacific Rim Region Coastal Safety Coordination Meeting on March 4th, 2024. So I'll make that motion.
I can second it.
Councillor Hoare seconds. Any further discussion? All in favor? None opposed? That carries. Thank you. And now we're moving on to information items. There are 3 information items. The first is AVICC resolution submissions from the City of Port Alberni. It's interesting because one of these refers to the fact that they would like the province to help offset some of the costs the fire departments are incurring when they respond to ambulance calls and outside our jurisdiction calls. And the District of Tofino is putting a resolution forward to AVICC for that exact same purpose. So just thought that was an interesting coincidence. And 9.3 is the new wood smoke reduction program announcement, but it applies to the ACRD. So anyone in the ACRD can apply for these grants. Okay, mayor's announcements and council committee reports. Just wanted to remind everyone that tomorrow, February 28th, is Pink Shirt Day. Councillor Hoare jumped the gun. Pink Shirt Day aims to raise awareness of bullying as well as raise funds to support programs that foster children's healthy self-esteem. Kindness is the theme because it all started when a Nova Scotian teen wore pink in sympathy of a boy who was being bullied, and his kindness is what started the Pink Shirt Day movement. Council committee reports. Councillor Anderson.
All right, not too much there. I had an ACHN meeting, Alberni Clackwood Health Network, and Marcy always runs a tight ship. And although she has been away for a bit, so there wasn't, she took a holiday over the month before, so there wasn't too much on this agenda, but they went over their revisions of, there's some new people on the table of partners for that, so they went over, redid their mission, vision, and then did coordinator updates. There's lots going on with the Youth Futures program, where they do community outreach for kids in remote communities and not so remote communities, for harm reduction and things like that. It's really good programs that they do. But the one thing that I wanted to just add that I'm not sure if you know this yet, but it looks like the ACRD is working on a regional transit that's it'll start on April 2nd. Do you know that? So
Yeah, we've been working on that for 9 years.
I figured that was your thing. Yeah. So I just heard that now. So okay, that's it for me.
Great, thank you. Councillor Hoare.
I don't have much other than yesterday's budget meeting that we all were at. Yes, I jumped the gun. I deliberately wore this today because I wanted to make sure that Pink Shirt Day did not get forgotten in the announcements today. And so I expect to see all of you come do your shopping in pink tomorrow. So.
I have 2 ACRD meetings tomorrow, and which is why they reminded us all to wear pink. So that's
Perfect.
great. Yes.
Doesn't have to be this bright, just saying.
Councillor Kennington
Nothing at this time.
and Councillor Mafty.
Nothing specifically related to any committees, but I attended the evening that Clackwood Action hosted in Tofino on the weekend. They showed a movie that they've been working on for quite a long time about salmon farms, and it was really interesting. I was surprised how many people came out, and I think it prompted a lot of interesting discussion. And I don't think the movie's available on any platforms yet, but my understanding is it will be, and I encourage anyone to check it out to get a better big picture perspective of what the issues are. Obviously, Clackwood Action's an activist group, so there's a real slant to it, but there's quite a lot of good information presented, so it was a rewarding experience that I would recommend anyone who's interested in the issue learn more about once it's available.
What's the name of it?
It's called Salmon Secrets.
Salmon Secrets. Great. Okay, thank you for that. Myself, February 21st, I attended a West Coast Committee meeting in Tofino at Tofino Council Chambers. The board voted in favor of increasing the tipping fees at the landfill for weighed garbage and construction demolition waste. And that opened up a really interesting conversation because construction waste to someone is something that could be used by someone else. And so the idea was brought forward that the landfill provide an area, it would have to be a covered area, for some of this construction waste, so-called waste, which could be available to people to, if they need just a little bit of flooring because it's left over from a project, or a little bit of drywall or whatever. And so Paulo, who was there he looks after the landfill, he said that their first priority is to build a cover over the organics so that becomes fertilizer that can then be sold to people. So once that is constructed, then they will look at constructing another area for for construction waste or demolition waste. So I thought that was a great idea to reuse, repurpose, recycle. There were also budget deliberations about the airport and the waste management service. And there was an increase in funding for Pacific Rim WildSafe BC because they are wanting to go from a part-time coordinator to a full-time coordinator. And that is to be jointly funded by the province, the District of Tofino, District of Iqaluit, and the ACRD. The cost for a full-time coordinator is $81,000, of which the ACRD is requested to fund $24,000. So that's an increase of $3,192 from what they have previously funded for the part-time coordinator.
That's one salary?
Yes. Looking for a new job?
No, but I pushed for it, and I hope, like, I think WildSafe's amazing. That's I commend them on a position that's certainly a living wage in line with the CBT's latest numbers.
That's right. Then later that day, February 21st, I met with Sergeant Mark Jones, who was here earlier today, and our CAO. And then the evening of February 21st, I attended the 100 Women That Matter event at Blackrock. There were actually 128 of us. And the $12,800 that was raised was given to hospice. There were 3 charities that were drawn, and all 3 were totally worthy. The Food Bank was one of them, and West Coast Resources was the other. And the one that got the most votes was Pacific Rim Hospice, so they were the recipient. And and then CBT is talking about possibly doing another event like this in the fall, possibly in September. So that's definitely worth going to. And then, of course, we had our budget meeting last night. That's it for me. Question period. This is an opportunity for the public to ask questions about matters within Council's jurisdiction. Representations about matters that have been the subject of a public hearing are not permitted at this time. Are there any questions from the audience? Yes, would you like to go to the microphone and just state your name and address, please?
My name's Darrell Powell. I've been here 11 years. 1258 Rupert Road. Okay, and I'm bringing something to your attention as politely as I can. The bylaw officer has made a tragic and horrible mistake, and that's about the nice way to put it. The other way to put it is that I'm constantly harassed by this person who has no understanding of law, and an issue has come up, and I was told not to park in front of my house with my truck. Okay? Now, I've taken pictures around town, and everybody's parking in front of their house, as well as their driveway, and including down across Peninsula and everywhere that you look. Okay, and I'm being picked on and harassed by this person because I think what's happening is that she's misunderstanding, and that's what I'm saying. I'm putting this as best way I can comprehend it, why anybody would.
Just speak into the
what would
microphone,
cause
please.
the mistake.
Just speak into the microphone,
And the
please.
misunderstanding is that hump of asphalt put down Rupert. I don't think she understands why that's there. It's not to stop people from parking where my property line ends and the lawn drops down to the road level, and then there's I've always parked there for like 11 years. And I got this harassed with this note, and I don't appreciate it. I've got a terminal condition going on with my heart and lungs, and I don't like telling you this information, but I feel I must. I'm disabled, and I find that out here is not very considerate towards disabled. It always seems to be the last or no consideration, not just here, Tofino too, and Long Beach, and disabled and the elderly. Example, I can't push the garbage bins out to the road. Well, Ozark was kind enough to come and get them for me, because even empty, I can't push them. Okay. Accommodation for the disabled is something that this council could use an advisor on, for sure. This thing about parking in front of my house is just an insult. That asphalt hump down the road was in order to drain water from the cul-de-sac. It was a bad engineering move, in my opinion, and that it should have been properly curbed and drained and go into the culvert that's beside my property, which was originally the plan in its very original consideration. It was just never completely followed through on. I feel like if it was across the road in Marine Drive or one of the new, it would have drain curbs, and it would have drains around that, which would go into the main culvert and down into the main water flow. But they chose to put this asphalt hump there. Otherwise, I'm just parking, off of, beside the pavement, okay? Like everybody else in this town when you drive around. Now, I've been picked on by this person before, okay? And I don't appreciate it. I'm here, I do not run B&Bs, I do not lie to city council like my neighbors, running B&Bs when they are running B&Bs, and I'm not here as some financial predator or anything else. I've lived in many small communities, and I'm well experienced at that. And but this is too much.
Can I take a look at that?
I'm not breaking any law by parking in front of my house. Is it okay to approach?
Yep. And just for your information, Councillor Kennington is on our newly formed disability committee. So
Accessibility Committee.
Accessibility Committee.
We will be having public input.
Canada and Senate witness in Australia about disability, and championing those causes, especially for workers.
Thanks.
And I would be pleased to be of any assistance if I ever can be.
There will be input. We've put together a plan that needs to be reviewed by the community, and your input would be very valuable. So,
I'm more than happy to help out.
all right.
I've been doing this a long time and very well known up on the Hill and across the country. This is just not right. And I think what she's doing is misunderstanding why that asphalt hump is there. It's not to stop people parking. It's about draining the water from the cul-de-sac.
I understand. I've seen those humps in other places around town too. So we will have staff look into that for you.
Because I'm not breaking any law. No, I've approached the new lawyer in town about it, and I'm dealing with a life-death crisis, and I won't hesitate. And I feel that I've been harassed by and had problems living in Ucluelet that have never been. I've always felt like I'm the devil himself if I go in and complain about something. I'm not complaining. I'm bringing something to somebody's attention at City Hall. But everybody looks away like I'm the devil on the first floor there. I mean, even my neighbors across the road, Mo works at the co-op store and that. Their friends even park there in front of my house.
I think we can guarantee that we'll have staff look into it for you.
You know?
Yeah.
Because I can't put up with this harassment. And she's harassed me before. And I think that if you're gonna have a bylaw officer, they should have some knowledge of the law. It might be a consideration to send them for some appropriate courses at the Justice Institute in New Westminster.
Okay.
That may be something worth looking at, because you've got to understand the limitations and boundaries of law. We're not here just to draw up anything we want. We have civil and administrative laws in this country, and they're all subordinate to federal. And the disability parking down there in front of City Hall, for example, that's a human rights complaint, okay? And I haven't pushed it. I've mentioned it, but I think it's the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen. And I think that, you know, you would benefit from a disability advisor out here, because that obviously is a glaring mistake. You got a disabled parking spot, and you got stairs up to the City Hall. It should be over where the Bank of Commerce is, the liquor store.
Well, I think your input would be appreciated at the accessibility.
If you want some feedback on things, I'm quite happy to do it.
That's great. Thank you so much.
So the rest of it, I'm going to continue parking, and because before that hump was there, I parked there, and other people did too. One thing we do have a problem is with abandoned cars from people who do not live here and leave their car next door to me, right where the culvert is, for like a year. And I had to talk with the RCMP about it and everything like that. And abandoning, I don't want somebody to abandon their vehicle in front of my house.
Okay, thank you for your comments.
It's a major problem,
Okay, thank you.
all right? Is that, everybody got?
Thank you.
Sorry?
Your hat.
Thank you.
Are there any questions from other members of the audience? Mr. Rotenberg, are there any questions by Zoom?
Please click the raise your hand icon if you have a question for council. No hands are raised at this time.
And are there any questions by telephone?
Click *9 if you have a question by telephone. No hands are raised at this time.
And have we received any questions via email to communityinput@ucluelet.ca?
No questions via email.
Okay, great. Just a reminder that the seniors' lunch is tomorrow here at the community center, and the seniors' advocate Isabel McKenzie will be here to speak, and looking forward to that very much. Okay, closed session. I'll move that the February 27th, 2024 regular council meeting be closed to the public pursuant to the following sections of the community charter. 90 sub 1 sub C, labor relations or other employee relations. 90 sub 1 sub G, litigation or potential litigation affecting the municipality. 90 sub 1 sub I, the receipt of advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose. And there's more. 90, sub 1, sub M, a manner that under another enactment is such that the public may be excluded from the meeting. And 90, sub 2, sub B, the consideration of information received and held in confidence relating to negotiations between the municipality and a provincial government or the federal government or both, or between a provincial government or the federal government or both and a third party. May I have a motion to adjourn?
Oh, so at that point, you just need a motion to go into closed session now, so you need someone to second you?
I'll second that.
Oh, motion to go into closed session.
I'll
And
second it.
Councillor Hoare seconds. All in favor? None opposed? That carries.
You get the boot, Josh.
See you, Josh.
Josh.
Yeah.